review this game. So white play e4 and start with Sicilian because black plays c5, knight c3. This is close Sicilian, and white play d3 without pushing the pawn to d4. So this is a strategy to close the game, and I would recommend play g3 first and move the light square bishop because we can speed up our piece development, and later once we place our bishop we can play d3, but it doesn't really matter. And black developed knight g3 and g6, bishop g2, bishop g7. So f4, white push the pawn to f4. Or we can play like knight to e2, g1 to e2. It's very important to place knight at e2 instead of f3 because we don't want to block the f pawn. If I were playing as white, I would move the knight castle and then play f4, because once our rook at f file, it makes sense to push the f4 and f5 to open up the f file. So if we push the pawn too early, we have to wait until we have the rook at f1 and then f5. So yeah, so there is a tiny difference between the different orders when we move pieces. So I will move the knight to e2 first, then castle. And also knight at e2 can kind of defend d4 because in the future black is probably moving the knight to d4. So yeah, so let's see. Castle, knight f3. Okay, yeah. So white pushed knight to f3. I mean, if white is going to push f5, so the knight probably will like block our f1 rook later on. So thinking about coordinating pieces, I will still think about move knight to e2. So let's see how did the game develop. Castle, bishop d7. Well, from black's perspective, I think so far so good. We have made the king safe and we have developed most of the minor piece. So from a long-term perspective, so black should attack on the queen side, because first of all we have a dark square bishop aiming at this diagonal, and we have much more space at the queen side thinking about pawn structure. So in this case we need to speed up our attacking, like rook to ba. I mean the first thing we need to tackle is about b5 square. It's controlled by the knight. So just move the rook and push our pawn as soon as possible, because in this game, like white is going to attack on the king side and black is going to attack on the queen side. So when each side attack on the opposite side on the board, we need to speed up. So otherwise we'll be passive. So bishop d7 is a bit like slow in my opinion. And h3, ba, g4. So white is expanding its space. b5, that's good. f5, b4, knight e2. And so yeah, so how should we further attack like queen side? So if we have bishop at c8, we can maybe after a5 we can push the bishop to a6 to aim at this d3, because after a4 b3, when we attack the c2 pawn, the b3 will become like a weakness. So this is how black usually attack the queen side. But right now we have a bishop at d7. It's a little bit useless. It's protect the knight, but there's no threat to the knight, and I don't see any like upcoming opportunity to attack on the c file. So move the bishop to d7. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to move rook or queen to control the c file. So if we have bishop at c8, then we can move it to a6. So this is how we can attack our opponent. So maybe push the pawn, yeah, and let's see how it goes. a5 and queen e1. This is a very interesting way. White is going to offer a bishop trade at h6. And you know what? Actually, you can push the pawn to c4. Because if you take my pawn, I can take an e4. So trade my c5 pawn with e4 pawn. That's a good trade, good deal for black. We can push the pawn to c4. Play a4, queen h4. We should still push c4, offering a pawn exchange. Queen b6. We are targeting at this diagonal. King h1. Make the king safe. b3. Yes. So this is what I said. Black's pushing upon the b3, attack c2, will make the d3 become another weakness. Maybe we can move knight to d4 and bishop to b5 to attack the pawns. Take c3. It's a good move to close the queen side. So when you're under attack, it's usually a wise idea to close the files or ranks if you want to defend. Rook a8, control the open file. Knight e5, knight f4. So white involve as many pieces at the king side is good, and black is trying to control the a file. It's also good. Take. I'm not sure taking the knight is a good move. Maybe it should. Because knight goes to g5, that could be a very huge threat. So another thing I'm always consider about is pushing the pawn to c4, because we can attack d3, and once the d3 pawn moves, we can take e4. Yeah, and then we can take because this is how we can counterattack. White focus a lot on these three files, so maybe in the center or at the queen side, black has some opportunity. Or maybe trade the rooks and bishop c6 to trade all the rooks, and our queen can go to the queen side. Trade the take c4. Now it's a bit late, okay, but interesting. If you take, I might move my queen to e3 there. That's a good chance to make our queen step in our opponent's battlefield. It's very interesting. I like this move. d4, yeah, it's good to close the center. But now white has a bishop at f3, so the e4 pawn is safe. Bishop c6, that's nice. Keep attacking on e4. Rook e1, rook a8, g5. So white push the pawn. So is there any threat? Can we sacrifice? If we take, no, we lose some pieces. Take rook a1. Yeah, rook b1, attack b2. No, knight d5, knight e7. Only a rook is not enough. Okay, so yeah, so g5 is a good move. So then we have to make our knight back to e8 probably. Yeah, so we are a bit passive. Take knight g6, sacrifice. Bishop g6. It's good, building a kill zone. And also maybe later move the rook to f5. So it's really hard for black to defend. Queen f2, queen f7, queen d8. Yeah, I think white will win some pieces. No? Okay, white sacrificed a knight, but I mean, queen g7. I think white is still better. And we'll take the pawn, and also if we trade the queens, queen f6, move the king to here, check here, and d6. Yeah, white will win a lot of pawns, and the king and this pawn are all weakness. So white broke through the king side, but clearly black hasn't reached the reached to, for example, a2. Hasn't posed any serious threat to white. So how can we defend? This is a very good example to showcase how white attack the king side. But if we want to move back a bit, how can we? Yeah, I think the thing is black should push the c pawn very early. For example, if we push the c pawn now and d4, maybe white can still play d4 because the knight is on the threat. Take, the pawn is still safe. Can we trade the rook in bishop c6, g5? No, the rook has to protect e4. Maybe we can trade the bishop and then queen b7. So we can add pressure on e4. If we play g5, you need to think about it. Can I still take the pawn? Sacrifice. Okay, f6. Ooh, that's scary. Yeah, maybe we still need to move knight to e8. But the good thing is, if we have the rook at the f-file, and once white trade the pawn, we can control the f-file. We can fight back. So maybe offering rook to trade at ace a8 is not a good idea, because our rook can turn into a very good attacking piece after the pawn trade. And if white doesn't take the pawn, then white cannot king g2. How can we fight back? e5. The knight goes to h5, take, f6. We have a knight, so this is safe. And we can play queen a8 to attack the b2. So the point is, if we have our rook at f8, white, it's probably not the best choice to open up the f-file like this. So if we move the queen to e7, take, queen f7, yes, we can fight back at the f-file, and white will have a big problem at the f-file. For example, these two pieces. So yeah, that's a smart way to counterattack at the f-file. So this could be a good way to defend. And if white doesn't open up the f-file, it's really hard to for example, I don't know, f6, take, we can win the pawn, and we are pretty safe. Our queen can guard the 7th rank. Yeah, so maybe having the rook at f8 is a good strategy to defend. That's it.